Up, it'll say record.
Okay.
There you go. 'Tis the one.
So welcome to the HL7 Australia Fire Connectathon AU patient summary track kickoff call. As part of acknowledgement of country, HL7 acknowledges and pays respects to the past, present and future traditional custodians and elders of Australia and the continuation of culture, spiritual and educational practices of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples. So I'm Heath Frankel. I'm one of the track leads for the AU Patient Summary Track kickoff, or for the track. And we're going to just go through and introduce the other track leads on the call. We're going to have a bit of a look at what the track goals are, and then looking at some of the track tools that are available for you to use at the track, etc. But we're also going to have a bit of a mentee to get to know who you are and what you're looking to do at the Connectathon track. So I might just skip forward quickly to introduce our other tracks. Tim, I just wonder if you come off on video for very briefly. So as I introduce you, so as I said, I'm Heath. I'm here as a Spark facilitator. We've also got Landon Riley from Best Practice Software, who is a co-chair of AU Core TDG. And we've also got Tim from the digital agency, who is also a co-chair of the AU Core TDG. So for those that aren't aware of the organization of the AU Patient Summary, we are a group under the auspice of the AU TDG, and hence our co-chairs are important people as part of that. So I'll just skip back to the Minty. If you could join the Minty very briefly while I kick that off. Hopefully you should at this stage see a question about from which city you're from. So if you can kick that off. It's good to see some new names here, as well as the usual suspects. And if you didn't get a chance to get that QR code, you can just log into menti.com and then enter in the code 8862 1121 up at the top of the current screen that's sharing. So we've got 17 participants. We've got 14 on the Minty, so I'm assuming most of you have got through to that. If not, we can move on to the next screen. What's your background and role? Pretty standard profile that we normally see at these. So architects, devs, standards development in particular, a couple of clinicians. So I'll move on to the next one. Okay, have you previously attended or participated in any of these? tools. Most of you are probably in the space on the left. So maybe one or two more to come on. 12 or 14. Pretty regulars. All right, and I might skip this one because given the last profile, most of you know FAR pretty well. So what would you like to get out of patient summary track? Setting a pretty high bar with that conformance.
Mhm.
I think making friends is going to happen. So is that system kappa, is that capacity? Or is it an acronym I don't know? Yeah, capability, yeah. So learning, that's certainly part of it. Clarity. I think with the clarity, we certainly need some assistance on knowing what needs to be clarified. Hopefully through ballot responses, we'll get some of those questions. What's not clear? All right, we've got 9 out of 15, so I might move on to the rest of the preso. Okay, so AU patient summary track. So we're looking to allow participants to demonstrate the use of the AU patient summary implementation guide. So obviously we've got the implementation guide that's been published as a draft for comment. It defines the data model of the patient summary and some minimum expectations around producing and consuming that patient summary information. And now the track is here to demonstrate the use of that. And in the context of, generating as a producer, sharing it as a producer, and as a consumer, so that combination of the two, and things like viewing as a consumer as well. And obviously there are other scenarios, but these are the ones that we've been most interested in because that's the feedback that we're getting from the community at the moment as the first starting point. We're also giving that opportunity for those that are new to AU patient summary from an implementation perspective, at least, to work out how we're going to generate and access using a file server. And you don't necessarily need to have a system for that to happen. You can come along and use some tools such as Postman, etc., just to get some experience with generating from a file server or accessing, etc. So Not that the implementation guide goes into the specific details of that. It's just more of some tools that we've got available for you to start to play around. So you don't actually have to have a working implementation. If there's any questions along the line, please stop me and ask. But basically, as a set of goals, we're looking for system implementers to produce and validate a patient summary against the AU patient summary IG. We actually have a new version as of, I think it was last Friday or Thursday. I think it was Friday. So we've got the ballot for comment implementation guide that was published a couple of weeks ago. We've got a new version on Friday, which has incorporated some recent changes from the international patient summary. So that's the new guide that we'll be leveraging as part of this Connectathon. And as part of our Sparked program, what we're really interested in is collecting coverage of any implementations of the patient summary against the patient summary profiles, both who are producing and consuming patient summary documents. So whether you're using an AUPS allergy intolerance, for example, or a condition, immunization, or some of the other profiles down further in the section lists. We're also exploring and sharing our experiences with how we're generating and accessing those patient summaries. So what kind of interactions we're using, what operations we're using to do this. So we actually want to capture that as implementers. How are you actually doing this? So that can guide our next iteration of work beyond the publishing of the profiles themselves. And we've got some hot topics that we would like to discuss, and we're also open to any topics that come up on the day or prior that you would like to raise at as a breakout session. So we've got 2 days. Basically, in the morning, we've got another kickoff to the attendees of the session at 9 o'clock. Sign in at 8:30, and then we'll start off our independent tracks at 9:40. We'll start with introductions so that we get to know each other, what you're looking to do, and as facilitators, we will attempt to help you perhaps get in contact with other participants in the room, so that if you do want to share your patient summary, that someone who is a consumer or a producer and link you up and see what we can achieve if you're using the same kind of interaction patterns, etc. So that's the introductions gives us a bit of an understanding of what you're doing there. And then we basically go through the rest of the session in the morning, and the other 3 sessions in the afternoon. We're going to just basically test and get connected to each other through that process. On day 2, we've got a kickoff again at 9 o'clock. And then at 9:10, we're going to have a breakout session. So this is our hot topics breakout session. And then for the second quarter on day 2, we've got some more connecting and testing. And then after lunch, we'll start to report out. So this is a really important part of the Connectathon. We want to collect from you what you've been able to achieve. And we'll be also looking to find a couple of people that would like to demonstrate. So if we can get a demonstration of, because we're not just we're limited to only 2 demonstrations this Connectathon. So if we can find some good connections between vendors, it's not just individual vendors that are demonstrating. If we can actually find a demonstration that involves more than one and demonstrate that to the rest of the group that are there. So Landon and Tim will be coming around after lunch. to basically see what you've been able to achieve, and we'll start reporting out. We also have Shelley, and who's your helper, Shelley? Danielle? You've got your
I was
hand up?
going to say there's going to be also a team of people around test results. And I have their photos on a different slide, but I can share that as well. This is for test result collection, some of which I think will come around at the end of the first day, as well as starting around lunchtime on the second day. Will be Kyle, will be Jamie, will be Dushi, and will also be Shelley, um, who will be over the 2 days kind of doing a lot of that test result collection.
So I've got Shelley on video already. You know, Dushi. I think you've probably met Jamie before, and Kyle is probably one of your first Connectathons that you're coming, Kyle. But
Yes, the first one being present and visible. Yeah.
yeah, so Kyle's been in the background for a number of months, basically making sure that fire servers are running and ballots get published. So it'll be great for him to be there and see what we talk about. Okay, so the breakout sessions on day 2. We've got a couple of items there around AU patient summary generation and access, and we're looking to get some feedback around how IPS, the International Patient Summary, and AUPS work together in practice within Australia, and in reverse when we're actually sending out AUPS outbound, but also when we're perhaps receiving an IPS from overseas and bringing them into our systems that are AUPS compliant. So that will be an interesting topic around that. And as I said, any other topics that come up during the day, and we have the opportunity to perhaps raise those today as well. Also, there is another breakout that is somewhat related to this. This is a general breakout, but on day 1 in the afternoon at 3:15. We've got Brett, Millie, and Dushi doing a session on IG authoring. So we thought it was worth mentioning here as well, because for those that are perhaps looking at adopting AU patient summary, but authoring that for your own as an implementation guide for yourself, whether that's a jurisdiction or a vendor, this session will give you a bit of an insight into the processes that you can kick off to do that. So we just wanted to put a plug in for that one as well. So that's Tuesday afternoon that's Monday afternoon. So in correction there. So day 1, Monday the 1st, 3:15. Okay, so if you need some more information on this again, or after this session, these kickoff slides will be available on this track page as well if you need to go through it again. But pretty much this is just a summary of the information that's on this track page. So you can head off to there. There's also the specifications, and I'm pointing here to the 0.40 draft, not the public comment one. So this is the one that we're going to focus on in the Connectathon. So go and check that out. It has some extra constraints in it over and above what was in the ballot as a result of some changes that was made leading up to the IPS publication that's about to occur in about 2 weeks' time, or in September. So track preparation. So if you're intending to come, basically get your development environment sorted out. If you've got something already in your product, or whether you're just looking to build a proof of concept, get that set up on an environment where others can access if you're hosting a service. So probably not the best thing to have that running on a laptop in the room, because it's going to be very difficult for others to be able to get access through that, because it's effectively we're on public network, so I would expect. So you'll need to have that hosted somewhere in the cloud or with a reverse proxy, etc. So just think about that. If you're a server, obviously as perhaps a client that may have less limitations around that, but again, just make sure that you're able to work with others if that's what your intent is. And otherwise, there are some things that if you haven't already registered as a participant, we want you to go to the AU Core and AUPS participant page, which I think we got a better link for in a moment. Also, if you haven't signed up for chat.fire.org, then that's something that you should also do, because we will continue to communicate through that channel, just like sharing of credentials, or announcements that, you know, the breakout session's about to kick off, etc. So chat.fire is basically our community, including an Australian community, including a patient summary community, but also the international community of FIRE. So it's worth, if you're new to this, to get on there as well, just to see what is going on around the world in FIRE. To be able to get access to the track page, to be able to register as a participant, you will need to create a HL7 account for that as well. And there's a link here to how to do that. Otherwise, get familiar with the patient summary through the IG. And also I'll have a link in a moment to something called the Inferno test kit, which has some high-level testing mechanisms for AU patient summary. So we've got some scenarios along the way here, very high level. We're not talking about any particular interactions, any particular modes of implementation. So it's very high level, and really down in at this point in time, which it's up to you on how you share things. A patient summary, whether you just want to generate it and then copy and paste it into Inferno, etc. So the first scenario is as a patient summary producer, and if you've got a server implementation of some sort, not necessarily a FIRE server implementation, but just being able to generate an AU patient summary. And I do have the term FIRE server in the next bullet point. That's a typo, that shouldn't be there. But to generate an AU patient summary from your existing data in the system, it may be FIRE data, it may not be. You may be a facade, for example, so it might be getting data directly from your database. And then just if you can view that, so there's an IPS viewer, an International Patient Summary Viewer, that is open source. It's available online. You can copy and paste that into that to have a look at what your patient summary might look like. Scenario 2 is a slight variation on the first one, which is now an application. So that is able to generate a patient summary. The suggestion in the dot point there is that you could perhaps retrieve your data from a FIRE server, an AU Core compliant one, hopefully, so that you're able to then pull those various resources together and generate a patient summary instance from an AU Core FIRE server. And we do have a sample server with some test data in it that you could leverage if you are building such an app. And again, just viewing that patient summary within a viewer of some sort. That could be your own viewer if you're a client, or again, you can copy and paste that into the IPS viewer. And finally, we've got a consumer scenario where we're suggesting that you can somehow access a patient summary from another system. So find a patient summary in another system and retrieve it and view it within your within your app as a consumer of that patient summary. So they're the three very high level scenarios that we're playing around. We're open to others. We don't need to perhaps coordinate on those today, but if you've got some scenarios later in the session, you can bring them forward. That would be great on the day. Bring them forward, and we can talk about them as well. But just to give you a guide, and off the track page is a link to these these scenarios with a little bit more detail. Okay, so if you want to be a participant, please, as I said, sign up at this link. It is a combined page for AU Core and AUPS. We see an overlap between the two, so you may actually want to be a participant of both. But in particular, please put in your details that whether you're an AU patient summary producer or consumer, if that's what you're doing as an actor. And if you've got some credentials, etc., that you need to share with others, you don't need to put them there today, but perhaps on the day, so that others can go to the track page and you can remove them again afterwards if there's something that you don't want to have permanently public. Keep in mind there is a history on the Confluence, so if you want to protect them even further, you may not want to put them up there and at all, and we'll have to find another way to exchange those. But just keep in mind there is history on those Confluence pages.
Yeah, we've handed out slips of paper before on the day with, things written down.
So as we talked about previously, what we're seeking from implementers is some feedback. So as part of our report out, as part of our coverage reporting, but more so from our report out, we're interested in how you initiated the generation of your patient summary. There are some operations that the International Patient Summary is recommending, but they're not the only ones. So we haven't dictated those yet in AUPS, and they're unlikely to be specified in release 1. So that we are really just gathering some information at the moment of how you've gone about it. Similarly, how did you initiate sharing of your patient summary? How did you locate it? How did you retrieve it? And how did you view it? So we're just interested in all of those, and that ties back to obviously our goals at the beginning. So we've got some testing tools available. We've got the patient summary Inferno test kit, and I've got here that we've got a validation mechanism, and that's coming soon. Ilya, is that something, what sort of time frame are we expecting the validation mechanism within the Inferno patient summary test kit?
So we are going to provide a test kit for the latest version of AUPS. Yeah, and it will be released, I think, by the end of this week.
And that'll have a mechanism as well where we can copy and paste into that.
Yeah, including this feature.
Or a URL to go and retrieve it and validate against it.
So we will have a call regarding the specific requirements later today. Yeah.
Okay,
So
cool.
Personally, I would like to have both options, but yeah, we will discuss on that call. Okay.
And there's also the standard 5 validator CLI. There's a link there to a quick guide on how to use that validator CLI. You'll need to download the package from the implementation guide website to be able to leverage that. A bit of setup on your local machine to do so. And that's why we're keen to get Inferno to make that a little bit easier, so you don't have to do that. But it's still a useful tool for other purposes that you might want to look into that as well. We've got some examples in the IG itself. And we also have an IPS viewer, as I have mentioned again. So this is the International Patient Summary Viewer. at ipsviewer.com. And there has been some other, I'm looking a little bit more around whether there's a tool that we can use for smart health links as well. So I've got here smart health link generation. I don't think that's quite correct. It doesn't seem to have that capability. But if you have, this is a viewer that should be able to leverage your QR code as if you have the ability to generate them. So we'll work through that a little bit over the next week to make sure we can test those scenarios if people are interested in smart health links. And I think we had someone on the call on Friday that said that they were bringing some stuff around smart health links. So Create, I believe, was going to bring something in that space. So if others are doing it, you might have someone to play with in there. Mention Zulip. So there's a Zulip chat link there for the track, ready to go. As I said, latest announcements and questions and other sharing of information, etc. So any questions before I head back to some Menti closeout slides, questions, etc.
I'm just checking in on the track page. Oh, sorry if someone was speaking there.
No, that was me. Go ahead.
Checking on the track page for what's being provided for test data. So the latest that I was aware of, there were like 3 sources of reasonable sort of test data for people, depending on what they were looking for. Have we logged all of those 3 in the track page? And by that, I mean, there's a set of like atomic resources in the HL7 AU test data project that people can load and could then run like $summary off of. But then there's bundles that are already produced that either represent the consumer journeys or are necessary in order to satisfy the Inferno tests that are loaded out of the Fire IG. And then there's also, for those people that are interested, a bunch of the IPS data. So things where if you want to know what epics examples might look like, there's also a location store for that data. And do we have that logged in the test data section here?
So the AU test
Awesome.
data, I think that you're alluding to before, which was basically the individual resources, is here from the GitHub repository. I'm assuming that's the one you're referring to.
Yeah, I think we might want to annotate that a bit more on like why. Yeah. All right. Yep.
We've got the examples in the patient summary IG. We've got the Fire server that actually has that test data in it.
It should also hold the AUPS examples as well in the PS Fire server. Is that right, Carl? Like the examples out of the AUPS Fire IG are loaded in the Fire server?
Yes.
Okay,
I
cool.
think so, yeah.
So we probably just need to get some links or some IDs or something for those that people can leverage.
They'll be the same as in the Fire IG. But yeah, we can
Okay.
list them
Okay.
there.
So they're the same examples, are they? So
Yeah.
same examples here can be retrieved from here. Okay, that's great. And that the IPS viewer is the other one, same link that I had in the PowerPoint. And there is also this WA that's Washington State WA, not Australian, not Western Australian. So this is a viewer that they have available, and this is the one that I was alluding to, has some shared health links capability in there as well.
I wonder if there's a couple of other things worth mentioning, which is that there's an IPS Inferno, and that could be interesting for people to test against both the AUPS Inferno and the IPS Inferno and have a look at what that's doing. At the moment, the IPS Inferno is probably a bit more comprehensive, but I know we're moving towards including some of those tests in AUPS. And then there's also I think Graham has the interesting tool on the ability to generate some patient summaries from entered like consumer or clinical data, which could be something interesting to link as well.
Okay. Shirley, can you just record those couple of dot points and bring them back to me afterwards, please? Thank you. Okay. Anyone else got some questions? All right, what I might do is just very briefly go through the Minty, and then if we've got some time afterwards, you know, if you would like to speak up and introduce yourself, and if you've got particular areas that you would like to talk about, but I might just jump through the Minties first, and then give you the opportunity to introduce yourself and what you're looking to do at the track afterwards, if that's okay. So if you jump back to the Minty, if you've got it open already or need to open it again, minty.com 8862 1121. So what test scenarios for patient summary would you like to test at the Connectathon? They're intended to be very open. So, you know, it might be as generic as generating. It could be very specific and you want to test, you know, what does the discharge summary look like using AUPS? Okay, so a lot of generation. Happy to see curation in that list as well. I'm seeing consuming, but it seems to be more about hoping to have them consumed rather than actually being the actor of consuming. B2. Consuming into my system. Excellent. Glad to see. All right, I might move on. So I'll give you a couple more moments if you're about to. Otherwise, count down to 3, 2, 1. Okay, what kind of system are you bringing to your Connectathon, to the Connectathon? Are you a producer that's a server, a producer that's an app, a consumer that views, or a consumer of some other operation or processing? Okay, other, excellent. So if you would like to share that with us either verbally afterwards or in the chat, that would be what your other actually is, that would be great. So 3 producers, 1 consumer that's viewing, and some other feature. So I might move forward. I've got 2 less than I got last time. What patient summary interactions will your system have available for the Connectathon? So we've got the international patient summary operations up the top there, $summary and docref. Some standard bundle VAR interactions there with create, search, and read. Also document reference capabilities, create and search, and then some smart health links or any other mechanism that you're looking to bring. So it looks like we've got $3 summaries. And if you're a consumer, how are you looking to do that as well? So not just servers here, you can, as a consumer, what interaction are you using? And it can be another if you're a consumer, as in an import. All right, I might move on. What sections of the AU patient summary does your system implement? So we've got the mandatory ones at the top, allergy, problems, medications, some recommended ones, immunizations, procedures, and then we've got some of the other ones, pregnancy in particular there, because AUCDI has called that out as something that's required in our AUCDI patient summary. Results of medical devices recommended, and then some optional ones. And there's others that I couldn't fit on the list, so that's why there's another. There's too many sections. I think there's 16 and I've only got 12 options available. So you're doing something like patient story, it's another. Okay, so we got 3 again. So AU patient summary entry profiles. So within those sections, and again, I've focused on the ones that are actually specified in AUPS here as entries. So allergies, conditions, medication statement, medication request, immunization procedure, pathology results, smoking status are our AUPS profiles. So this relates back to our coverage. So we're just sort of getting a bit of a picture at this stage on what our coverage might look like. Excellent, thank you. And here's your chance to influence the hot topics. If you've got any other hot topics other than those that have been already discussed. So we're going to talk about ways to generate and access patient summaries, and also the relationship between IPS and AUPS. Is there anything else that you think we need to talk about when it comes to implementing AU patient summary? So that's the last one, I think. So I'll just leave it there. And we've got 15 minutes left on the call. Not that we have to use that 15 minutes, but I might just go around and rather than calling people out, I might just give you the opportunity to introduce yourself. If you ever want to actively engage, be involved in the patient summary or intend to be, introduce yourself, what you're looking to do at the call. Obviously, you've already indicated that in the Menti, but it's more about starting to get to know each other today before we get in the room again next week. So if you really need to do some preparation and want some assistance, you can potentially get access to some servers now, especially if you're a consumer. There's lots of systems that are able to provide you with a patient summary that perhaps people could make available to you already. I suspect, Landon, you might have a server that you could allow people to get access to a patient summary that's being generated, and I'm sure Ilya's got some stuff as well. So if there's something that you would like to start to coordinate with some of the other participants there on the day before we get there, then here's your opportunity.
So I can start if like no volunteers. So yeah, definitely Inferno will be used for testing, and if you will have some questions, don't hesitate to ask me. Yeah. Also, I will bring patient summary producer as part of Beda EMR. So now it supports $summary and $docref operations. So if you have a viewer, we can test the integration where my operation will be used for your viewer to see the data. And also I have a simplified version of patient summary viewer in Beda EMR. It's not like very advanced, but still we can do some additional testing and see how bundles produced by your system will look like in Beda EMR. Yeah, that's all from my side for this Connectathon, for this track.
Thanks, Ilya. Tim?
Just a quick one from me, and being a track lead, I've always had a interest in the Flyer working groups, and I guess background heavily in integration. But now in my health record, I'll probably be trying to coordinate some teams together around preparing a demonstrator or something that was similar to the testing event that happened in June. So we'll try and coordinate and pull together some artifacts and some test servers there, as well as try to get a gauge on, what we present from the agency's perspective that's coordinated. So we'll be in the background there helping facilitate some of those discussions as well. But happy for others to jump on and just let us know what you've got for us or want us to look at specifically.
Thanks, Tim. And I mean, if you have something available in advance, again, I encourage people to use Zulip to start to chat asynchronously before Monday, and obviously throughout as well. Ian, I noticed you jumped in just recently. So we're just finishing up on our patient summary track, if that's what you're joined for. Did you want to introduce yourself? Perhaps you missed out on a few questions about what your system might do and what you're looking to get out of the patient summary track. So you don't have to speak up, but just inviting you, seeing that you have come a little bit late.
Oh, good morning. I'm just going to work out what. Sorry about this.
I think I can mute you.
I'm online on the. Can you hear me now, Heath?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, look. Sorry, I was late. I was looking at technology. Look, I was just looking at the different tracks today and familiarising myself with what's on. I'm currently on leave from ACT Health and not extended leave for my annual long service leave. So just looking to get more involved with the firework and just really touching base this morning. I think I'll be joining to some of I've got more interest in some of the other groups. So
okay. And are you coming to Brisbane? Are you coming to Brisbane, Ian?
I missed that because I was putting my headset on. Yes, I plan to come to Brisbane.
Okay, great. I'll hope to meet you there.
Yeah, thanks, Sue.
So Landon, I'm assuming you were one of those that were contributing
Yes.
answers to the Minty. So
Yes, true. So we will provide a best practice facade file server, and we'll be testing conformance on that. And we're also bringing along a web app, which will consume that as well, and hopefully provide some test coverage. And I have a meeting tomorrow to see if we can come up with any creative ways to utilize this because there's only 2 demonstrations that can be provided back. We'll see if we can get in that list by coming up with something cool to show. But yeah, that's what we provide. And I'll put up hopefully by tomorrow in the credentials and everything needed to connect to our patient summary. So keep tuned. Thanks.
So were you the other consumer as well, or the consumer?
Yes. Well, the web app will consume, correct, and display.
Okay, cool. Marika.
Marika Carr from Halo Connect. We're also bringing a facade. We have we'll be acting as a producer, hoping to see our information consumed by other people present, but also testing against the new Inferno and AUPS Inferno and international patient summary Inferno test suites. Our implementation is slightly different for patient summary or for $ summary, just calling it out, in that we use an identifier. So if you have any issues connecting, please come and see myself or Cam Smith, who's also on the line, and we can help you out.
Great. Thanks, Marika. Well, anyone else? Otherwise, I might bring the call to a close. But if you wanted to contribute something, as I said, Zulip, if you want to introduce yourself offline, what you intend to do if you're looking for someone on the other side to join up against the server or vice versa. So looking forward to seeing you all on Monday and see what we're able to achieve over a couple of days, and in particular the hot topics. Ian, yes, it will be available at some stage. Thank you very much.
We'll get it up on the track page, Heath. So put it straight up.
Okay, so you'll organise that, Brett. Thank you.
Yep, get that. Cool.
Well, I will draw this one to a close and look forward to seeing you next week.
Thanks, Heath.
Thanks, Heath.
Thanks,
Thank
Heath.
you.
Thank you. Bye bye.